Hello, I'm Chef David Bearl, and I work with the University of Florida IFAS Extension Service and the Family Nutrition Program. And today I'm going to demonstrate how to cut fresh vegetables. I'm going to start with a bell pepper, but the first thing I did was I washed my hands for 20 seconds. The next thing I did was put a paper towel under my cutting board for safety, and I had sharpened my knives before the demonstration started. So for cutting a bell pepper, a lot of people cut them in half this way. I'm going to show you a different way. I take the ends off, set them aside, and then I'm going to unroll the pepper. This removes the membranes. And I have most of the white membranes out of the pepper. The first cut I'm going to do is a large dice, and the way to do that, you always want to cut on the inside of the pepper too. Lay the outside of the pepper on the cutting board. That's a safety thing. It's harder to cut on this side. So for a large dice, I will go about 3/4 of an inch width, and then come back 3/4 of an inch, and I have large dice. Now we cut different shapes and sizes when we're doing vegetable cutting, and the reason we do that, there's two reasons. One is for presentation on the plate, and the other has to do with cooking times. Of course, smaller things take less time, so if you're cutting vegetables into very small pieces, you want to add them at the end of the cooking process. If you're doing stews or something else, you may want larger vegetables so that they can cook longer with the product. The next one I'm going to do is a small dice. So I do about a 1/4 of an inch, and then come back 1/4 of an inch. And you can see how easy that cuts on that side of the pepper. The next one would be a very fine or fine dice. So I cut very thin strips. I turn them sideways, get them straight, and again, very thin strips. And I keep my fingers out of the way. On my left hand, I move it out of the way as I cut. And now I have a very fine or small dice. The next slice I'm going to do is a julienne, but I'm going to show you, I keep the knife on the cutting board as I slice. Cutting is not a chopping motion. You have more control with your knives if you keep the tip of the knife on the cutting board and you're actually slicing through your product to get the julienne cut. And by leaving the blade on the table and slicing, I'm doing a couple things. I'm controlling the shape of what I'm cutting, and I'm also protecting the knife blade. Chopping down on the cutting board does not help your knives at all. You'll be sharpening them a lot if you do that. So now we have a large dice, medium dice, small dice, and a julienne. Now I'm going to slice an onion for you. I'm going to show you the easy way that I use to cut them for my cooking. There are a lot of stories about onions and hurting your eyes, making your eyes water. They don't bother me, so I don't know if there's any truth to that. The first thing I do is I take the ends off. I slice the onion in half. I remove the outer peel. And now I'm ready to do the same cuts that I showed on the pepper. Onions are easy as long as I cut it lengthwise with the root end at the bottom or the top. It doesn't matter because I've removed it. I'll have julienne. So by slicing about 1/8 of an inch apart, I now have julienne onions. If I want the large dice, I come in 3/4 of an inch, and then I lay them flat. If you have a flat surface, it's a safe surface. It's not going to roll on me. So then I go 3/4 of an inch, and now I have the large dice. For the small dice, I go into 1/4 of an inch. And I have that cut. And again, we want uniform cuts for presentation and for cooking time. And then a very fine, I cut julienne again, turn them on their side. And now I have a very fine. Now I'm going to show you how I cut carrots. The first thing I do is wash them to get as much dirt off them as I can. And then I peel them because there may be dirt embedded in the surface of the carrot. We don't want dirt in anything because we could have some pathogens that we wouldn't want in our food. Plus, we want everything to look nice, and if you don't peel them, you'll have some discoloration when you cook the carrots. So first I'll peel them. I even remove the ends because there may be dirt embedded in the ends. I'm going to cut one large section off, which I'll show you what I'm going to do with that in a minute. And now I have the smaller section. I'm going to cut rounds or rondelle. And notice I'm not chopping, I'm slicing, leaving the tip of the knife on the table. To get the other cuts, I want to square this carrot. So again, being very careful. I put a flat spot on the carrot. The pieces that I take off when I do that are good for stock. They're not wasted. And to square it, I'm just rolling it on the table. And these go for stock. So for my large dice, I can cut these in half. And now I have large dice. For a small dice, I cut this smaller section. Now I have small dice. And then for our very fine, cut into strips, turn it. And now I have the very fine. And then for the julienne or thin strips, I take that last flat piece and slice the strips. A lot of people ask me how I peel garlic, so I'm going to show you a very simple way to do that. First, we have to get the clove out. I get several of them out. See if I can find a big one. There we go. And peeling garlic is very, very simple. I take the end off because there could be dirt in the root of that garlic bowl. And using the chef knife, crush it. And it comes right out. It's ready for slicing or mincing. And now I have minced garlic ready for any recipe. Now I'm going to show you how I remove the kernels of corn from the corn cob. That can be kind of messy if you do it this way, and that's how I originally used to do it, but somebody pointed out to me that that was very messy and there was a simpler way. Before I cut the corn though, I washed it, peeled it, washed it. I didn't use a brush, I just used my hand to remove the silk. But if you lay the corn down and slice and roll the corn, it doesn't fly around the kitchen. Very simple, and I didn't make a huge mess. Now to wrap up and review our vegetable cuts, we have on our plate here, we have our julienne, we have our large dice, we have our small dice, and our fine dice, and the rondelles or rounds of the carrots.